Alright guys, so here is our homework for tonight. We're on page 913 and 914. One thing you can do right here is cut out the little ruler so that you can measure if you don't bring your ruler or you haven't picked one up at school yet. So I'm just going to cut out my ruler. So my example says, measure the sides of each triangle to the nearest tenth of a centimeter. Then describe the number of congruent sides. To get today in class, we were measuring to 1/2 instead of 0.5. Right? But we can remember that 1/2 is equal to 0.5. 1/2 is a fraction, right? But a fraction is a division problem, so I'm going to take 1 and divide it by 2. Right, this is 1/2. I can't put 2 into 1, so I'm going to add a decimal place, bring up my decimal place, and add a 0. 2 can go into 10 though, right? 5 times 2 is 10. I would subtract to get 0. There's my 0.5. 1/2 is equal to 0.5. Measure the sides of each triangle to the nearest tenth. So I'm going over here. So right here, right, I could tell it's a little bit bigger than 2, and it goes right to the half, so I'm going to say 2.5. Right, this is where I like to use my clear ruler because it helps me, I can see right through my numbers there. So here I'm going to go to from 0, and again, 2.5. And then I'll measure this side. I'm going to start at 0. And it's right between 3 and 4, or sorry, between 2 and 3, it's going to be 3.5, 2.5. Sorry, okay. Now this one over here, right, I'm starting at 0. This one they're saying it's 2 and just 1/10, right, so 1, so it's going to be 2.1. This one I'm going to go over here, it's right on the half, so it's 1.5 more. Right, I'm putting this point on the 0, so I'm finding the 0, putting it right there, and figuring how far it goes. It's between the 1 and the 2 exactly, right? 1.5. The nice part of using millimeters and centimeters is I can just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I have 5 out of 10, it'll be 0.5. If I have 1 out of 10, it'll be 0.1. So this triangle has 3 congruent sides. So right, this is our new word. Congruent means equal. If you are congruent, they're equal. This triangle has 2 congruent sides, right? These two are congruent. And here we were measuring the angles of each triangle to the nearest degree. Then describe the number of acute, right, or obtuse angles. So I'm going to just take my protractor, right? This was the hard part, measuring these angles. So I take my protractor, I have the little dot. I'm going to put it right on the point of my triangle. And I put the line right on the line. See the line? I'm going to put this line right on the line. And I'm measuring this angle. So I'm going to go straight up this way. Right, I'm measuring this angle right here. So I'm going to go straight up here. I could see it's between 60 and 50. Right, I know it's not the 120 or 100. It could be either of these numbers, right? Between 60 and 50 or between 110 and 130. It's going to be between 60 and 50 because I can tell that this is smaller than 90. Right, this one is going to be bigger than 90. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put and they measured it for us, right, 55. So I'm going to put my point right on my angle, right? I'm measuring this angle right here. So I put my point right on the point, my hole right on the point. I line up my line, so it's nice and straight here, and then I'm going to follow this one over here to see how big it is. So I go over here. I know it's bigger than 90, right? So I know it's not going to be the 72. I'm going to go right here. It's going to be 110. A little less than 110. Alright, and look, I can tell right here it is, they already measured it for me, so I should find their 105, how they got 105. Oh, right there. So I got 105. And my last one is my teeny tiny angle. Same thing though, I'm going to put my point of my angle right through this hole in my protractor. I'm going to line up my line right on the line of my angle. And then I'm going to follow this line all the way over here. So I'm using my ruler to figure out right here. I'm going to line it up nice and straight. And it goes right to the 20. Right, so you could practice with these ones to make sure you're doing it right. So you take your protractor, I put it right on the point. I make sure my line is right on my line. And then I'm going to follow this angle line up here to measure it. So I'm going to go right over here, measure it. It's right between the 20 and 30 on this line, so that's the 25. And they already measured it for me. Yep, 25. This one I'm going to put right there and line up my line. Oh. And I measure over here, right? It's between either the 110 and the 120, so 115, or between 60 and 70. So 65, and I know it's not going to be 110 because it's not bigger. So I'm going to say 65, right? Oh, and that's what they got, 65. And this one should be 90. They wrote 90-degree angle. It should go perfectly straight up. So I'm going to put my corner of my angle right on the hole on my protractor. Put this line right on the line and measure straight up to where this line meets my ruler, and it is right about 90. Alright, so here, for our homework, measure the sides of each triangle to the nearest tenth of a centimeter, then describe the number of congruent sides. I'm going to just use my, I have all kinds of rulers. I'll use this one since you guys are watching here. So I'm going to put right here and figure out right here, and I can tell it goes right. Let's see, I'm going to put the 0 on the 0, and I'm going to go 2.4. It looks like it's right before the 2.5, so I'm going to say 2.4. Right before the half. This one I'm going to put it right, the 0 on the edge where the angle starts, and go right here. Oh, this one looks like it's exactly a half. So I'm going to say this one, maybe it is a little bit less, just like this other one. I'm going to say it's also 2.4. And then I'm going to measure this last one over here. It looks like it is right exactly 4. And I could even, since it's exactly at 4, I could even put 4.0. Alright, my next triangle over here, I'm going to put a corner on 0, and then figure it goes exactly to the 4 almost. I'm going to put to the 4, and then I'm going to measure this one over here, and it looks like it goes right to the 2, and then I'm going to measure this one over here, put this angle right there on the 0, and it's just a little shy of the 3, so I'm going to say it's 2.9. I better measure this one again. Did I do this one right? Yep. Alright, and I forgot to write on my lines down here. So, describe the number of congruent sides. I'm going to say 2 congruent sides. Congruent means they're the same length. And over here, I have 0 congruent sides. So I can put no congruent sides. They're all a different length, right? Congruent means equal to. Another word for equal to. Why don't we just say equal to? On the back, I have to measure the angles. Right, this is the tricky part. This is the new part for you. I know you guys have been measuring, but the angles is new. So I'm going to take my protractor. I'm going to put my little hole right on the point of my triangle. I'm lining up this line, right, with the line that's already on my triangle. And now I'm going to take my straight edge. I just need to make something to figure out where this touches over here. So I'm going to use my straight edge to do it. I call my ruler my straight edge sometimes. It looks like it's right between 40 and 30, right? More than 30, less than 40, so I'm going to call it 35. And I can put a little circle up here to let you know it's the degrees, and measuring the degrees. So this one, I'm going to put my point right on the point. I'm going to put my point of my protractor right on the point. I'm going to line up my line, and then I need to figure out this angle, right? I'm measuring this point, so these two lines, so I'm going to figure out where this line goes. I'm going to line it right up here. And I got 80. Right, now I could figure out how much this one is. Right, I know 80 plus 35. I'm going to be 115, right? And I know a triangle has 180, so 115. I could do it like this. I'm also going to measure it. So this angle should be 65 degrees. I'm going to double check though, just to make sure. I'm going to put my point right here. I'm going to line up my line right here. And I'm going to follow this line all the way up here. And look at that, perfectly, right at 60, right? It's between the 60 and 70, 65. And now they want me to describe the number of acute, right, or obtuse angles. So this one is 3 acute angles. I have 3 kinds of angles, right? I have a right angle, which equals 90. An acute angle is less than 90. And an obtuse is greater than 90. So over here, right, I can already tell acute, acute, obtuse. So I'm going to come here to this cute little angle. I'm going to put it right here and line it up. And it looks like I have 30, right? I'm measuring this angle right here, this one. And now I'm going to measure this one over here. I'm going to take my protractor, I'm going to put the dot, the hole for my protractor right on the point of my angle. Right, now it's a little not lined up, so I'm going to move my protractor so that it's nice and straight lined up. And now I'm going to follow, right, measuring this one. So it's this line and this line. I'm going to follow this line all the way over here. I know right now I can see it's either going to go to 160 or 20. And I know it's not obtuse. It can't be the 160. It has to be the 20. And now I can figure this out, right? 30 plus 20 is 50. So I think this one's going to be 110. So I'm going to line up my protractor, and I'm measuring this line and this one. So I'm going to take my ruler, my straight edge, and mark where it is over here. I'm moving my angle around. And I get right there. I know it's bigger than 50, right? It is the 130. And one thing I could say about this, it has 2 acute angles and 1 obtuse angle. And my next one, my problem solving. Measure the sides of the triangle shown. How many sides of the triangle are congruent, right? It doesn't ask me to measure the angles, it says measure the sides. So I am going to use my centimeter, and I'm going to measure right here from the 0, and I'm going to say this side is 4 centimeters. And this side is, it looks like a little less than 2.5. And so I'm going to put 2.4. And this one over here, also just a little bit less than 2.5, so 2.4. And it asks me how many sides are congruent, right, that are equal to each other. I can see 2 sides, 2 congruent sides. And my next part, number 6. Refer to the triangle in exercise 5. Measure the angles of the triangle shown. How many angles of the triangle are congruent? So now I have to measure the angles. So I'm measuring inside, so I'm going to put this right on the line. I'm going to line it up. And it looks to me like this is 35, right? It's right in between the 30 and the 40. I'm going to say this angle in the middle is 35 degrees. Now I'm going to measure this one right here. So I can tell this is bigger than 90, right? Here's my 2 numbers. I have to either go this one or that one. And I'm going to say it's between the 110 and the 120, so I'm going to say 115. Let's see if I did it right. I'm double checking it. Yeah, I'm going to say 115. And my last one over here. And I got 35, which is not going to add up right, so somewhere I messed up on the measuring. Right, I can't add 35 and 35. I'm going to get 70 plus 115 is just too much. So this is probably closer to 110. Let me just double check it. Right, this is the cool part about triangles, because I know I can double check it. It probably should have been 110. Yeah, I'm still getting 115. So that one's the right one. So these 35s have to be off a little bit. I don't know. That's what I'm getting from my angle. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. So 35 plus 35 is 70. It's just going to be a little off somehow. So, but I do have 2 sides I can tell that are congruent. So I'm going to say 2 are triangles. 2 angles are congruent. So here we are in billiards, right? I call this pool or billiards when I play with these balls on a pool table. In billiards, a rack is used to organize billiard balls at the beginning of the game. Jason is making the wood rack and found that each angle is congruent. and that the sum of the angles is 180 degrees. What is the measure of each angle? Right, this one I don't even need to measure them. They're telling me each angle is congruent. They're all equal. So I know there's 3 angles. I'm going to have 180 divided by 3. Right, I just do 180 divided by 3. Can 3 go into 1? No. Can 3 go into 18? Yes. Right, 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18. And subtract. I get 0. 3 times something is 0. 0. So this is going to be equal to 60 degrees. Each angle is going to be 60 degrees. And my last problem. Measure each angle of the triangle. How many acute angles does the triangle have? So I'm going to look at this triangle. Pardon me, I could see this. I think this one's going to be a right angle. So I'm going to double check this and see if it's a right angle. And it looks like it is a perfect right angle. So if it's a right angle, I put a little square in there to let them know it's a right angle. How many acute angles does it have? So a right angle is not an acute angle. It has to be less than 90. So I'm going to measure this one. I can already see, right, this one's 45. And I'm going to measure this one over here. I put my circle on the point of my triangle, and I take my ruler, and I go straight over here, and it is also 45 degrees. So how many acute angles do we have? We have 2 acute angles. And that is our homework for today in math.